Just when I looked back on it, I really realized everything is also I've seen years behind you all.
Ah! Oh! So c'est drôle. Let us clear the energy. Om Shanti. Ça suffit. Ça suffit. Marchez dedans le satsang. Let us begin our satsang. The first line of life is yoga. We express yoga in so many ways, and it's never ending. Yoga is not a thing that we come and learn on a spiritual path in life on the planet Earth, in this incarnation on the plane of demonstration. Yoga is an ongoing asana. It includes birth, moving through the lifetime on the plane of demonstration. And it includes the process of death, the process of leaving the body. And in leaving the body, we are practicing a yoga, an asana. And that asana is the movement into the bardos. We move into the bardos to look and examine and take account of everything that we have done, everything that we have chosen, every decision we have made, and how they have affected other sentient beings. That is an asana. That is a yoga. So the entire circle of life, through the process of living in the flesh body, to the process of being out of the flesh body, experiencing omnipresence, even there we are practicing yoga. It is in this practicing of yoga that we are experiencing the cycle of life. And the cycle of life does not begin with birth, and it does not end with death. The cycle of life is extremely full in between death and rebirth. And it is when we are in that omnipresent, transcendental state that we are practicing the highest asana, the highest yogas. It is the cosmic yoga. That is what Madame and the white lotus flower has spoken of as the great asana, the great yoga. Gri has spoken of Goddess Dove Ola. All of the great masters have spoken of the great asana. And the great asana is experienced during the process of death, leaving the body, moving out of the body, and becoming superconscious. Because we are no longer bound by the ego. We are no longer trapped by the brain cells, by the mind, the thinking process. We are free. And we are omnipresent within the universe. And that omnipresence is the greatest asana. It is the cosmic asana. That is a wonderful question. The next question is from Ratabin Das. Where is the first timeline of life? That is an interesting question. The first timeline of life. Well, life is a cyclic. It's a circle. It's a perfect cipher. So to look for the beginning of a timeline, that is almost impossible, because there is no beginning or no end. It is a cycle that continues and rolls on and on from lifetime to lifetime as we move through the bardos and we move through the lessons of life and the lessons of the cosmos when we are not trapped in the body. So the first timeline of life, to answer your question, the first timeline of life, to me, in my understanding, is when we realize that there is no time. Time is an illusion. Time is a delusion. It's a dream. It does not exist except for here on planet Earth, because some person in history decided to measure, to make a measurement of the movement of the day, then the movement of the month, and the movement of the year, then the movement of a lifetime. And in the creation of measurement in our starseed consciousness, we created time. And we imprisoned ourselves from the cosmic yoga. And by imprisoning ourselves from the cosmic yoga, we created the aging process. We created what we see and experience here on the plane of demonstration, on Tara, the planet Earth, as the aging process and time. So there really, truly is no timeline, but here on this planet, and in the dream that we are dreaming, the consciousness that is limited to the box of thought, of ego. And when we move into the bardos at the time of transition, when we are transitioning out of the body, we call this death, when in truth there is no death. There is only a change of state. And when we change our state from the physical state to the omnipresent, superconscious, cosmic asana, we are still in the practice of yoga, the true practice of yoga. And that true practice of yoga is a cyclic cipher. It never ends. So there is no timeline or beginning. The next question is from Micah Willard. Why do we carry miasms into the new lifetimes? When we have gone through the cosmic yoga, the cycle of life, through the bardo, through the state of superconsciousness, and we have made a conscious decision to return to the flesh body for another round of learning and another opportunity to correct the lessons that we refused to learn in a past or past lifetimes. And it can be plural. We create miasms when we are in the flesh body. And those are with relationships with other people. And when things are not completed spiritually between two souls or a group of souls, that creates an energy that is paranormal, it is supernatural, and that is called a miasm. And that is where we see people who come into the flesh body at birth, enter into the womb, into the embryo, and begin a lifetime, begin an asana on the physical plane as opposed to the cosmic plane of demonstration. We bring with us miasms that we have experienced from other lives, from other times, other expressions on the plane of demonstration. And every soul that we affected and that affected us returns into the earth plane within a 100-year period. That is why people that you may have miasms with may be 10, 15, 20, 30 years older than you. In the illusion of time, the measurement of age, that's all a dream, an illusion. Because all of our souls are ageless. They do not have a birth date. They do not have an end date. And they are not of a number, measurement. That comes from that person who invented time. Because when time was invented, the aging process was invented for the flesh body. Before that, in Lemuria, in Atlantis, in Alatia, we were ageless. We lived hundreds upon hundreds of years in the understanding of how we measure time. So this lifetime that we are living now, we are in miasms with many people. We are group souls. And the group souls, when they come together, have an opportunity to finish the lessons that they refused to finish in another lifetime. And that may have been because of ego. It may have been because of self-pride. L'égoïste. Les idées qu'on est seul. The ideas that we are alone. That is all our control and our decision how we live in our lives. When in truth, our lives are not singular. They are not indigenous to the flesh body. Our lives are intermingled with many people around us that have attracted to us like magnets as we today. And this is a miasm. That is a miasm. We have a question from Bali Jaja. We are awake and aware of feelings of the dense body. When does this awareness come to our consciousness? One would think in the consciousness or the mind, the process of thinking through the filter of ego, that the answer to this question would be when we embark on our spiritual path, when we become aware of our spiritual self. At that point in the lifetime where we realize we are on a spiritual path, but that is not so. That again falls under the measurement, illusion, dream. The first point of consciousness and awareness of our spiritual path comes within the womb, within the embryo state. We are conscious and most communicative with our spirit guides during the point where we are within our mothers. We are thinking, but we are not thinking with ego. The ego has not yet polluted who we are. The ego begins at the point of birth, when artificial light enters into the eyes. and speech and talking and stimulation from the third dimensional world is inflicted upon our spiritual selves. But when we are within the womb, we are most communicative with all the souls within all our miasms. And we are saying, I hope I don't mess it up. This is a point that must be contemplated. When we are in our mother's womb, we are most active. From the beginning of life, as we understand life to have a beginning and an end, which it does not. It is a complete cipher. The asana of life is at its highest point when we are in our mother's womb, because we have both the flesh body, which is developing within our mother, and we have an egoless state. So as we are experiencing this change of state, we are in an auspicious time. We are in an auspicious part of the asana, of the cosmic yoga, the circle of birth, life, and death. We have just entered from omnipresence, superconsciousness, transcendental existence within the cosmos and the universe, omnipresence, and we have filtered ourselves down through agreement, not through the copulation of two humans. That was agreed upon far before we enter the embryo. And as the soul enters the embryo with that consciousness vastly awake, we enter without ego. And we are very communicative with the spiritual world, and very much so with the extraterrestrial world. And many, when they are experiencing past life regression, there is no past life. Past lives do not exist. If life is a sphere, if life is a cipher, and it is, the yoga of life, yoga is any movement that is repeated until perfection is achieved. Now let me repeat. Yoga is any movement that is repeated until perfection is achieved. And that is what reincarnation is. It is a yoga, an asana. The next question is from Jakar Kas. After entering the womb, do we know we are in the flesh world? Absolutely. We absolutely know that we are in the flesh world. From the first division of the two cells, consciousness is present. And we know we are in the flesh world, and we are not in judgment of it. The state of judgment comes when we exit the body of our mothers, for their ego is inflicted upon us by society, social consciousness. But we are very aware that we are in the flesh body, and we are rejoicing because we see this as an opportunity to bring our miasms to fruition, so that the miasms can be allowed to dissolve. Karma dissolves when miasms leave. And miasms do not leave the circle of life, the yoga of the cosmos, the cipher, the great asana, until we have befriended our miasms. And without ego and with love, moved into completing the contracts that we have made with other souls during other lifetimes, as we understand in the illusion of other lifetimes. I call it during other states. When we are alive, we are in the state of the flesh. When we are on our deathbed, we are simply changing states. We are moving into another state, a state of omnipresence that is not trapped within a flesh body. The next question is from Jai Sundance. Hello, Sundance. Bonjour. Do we quad moving into the body as we have quadding experiences leaving into the death process? Most of us understand the process of quadding as a process that occurs when we are in the process of dying, when we are on our deathbed. Or if we are hit by a car and killed instantly from the flesh life, we understand quadding as that life review that we see flash before our eyes. Every experience, every choice, every good we have done to others is seen in that moment. Every harm, every injustice we have done to others is examined by the soul in that moment. It cannot be avoided. And this is where we enter into the bardos. These are mentioned in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and they are mentioned in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. The ancient knowledges that have been removed from the Bible, the Christian Bible. Someone was afraid that too much truth would make us powerful. The next question is from Mimi Sundance, the lovely wife. Mimi, in death, do we open to knowledge of self? We use the word death. It sounds so final. And when you understand, when we grasp that there is no death, there is simply a change of state. We open to knowledge in every moment. We do not save the opening to knowledge at the point of death. In every moment that we are in existence, which is not from birth to death, it is in every state that we experience in a cipher, in a cyclic of the Cosmic Yoga Asana. We are aware and omnipresent in life and its awareness. But when we are in the physical state of the flesh body, we have the thinking process and the measurement of time. and the ego, which is so thick a veil for us to see through. And perhaps the greatest lesson in this lifetime to grasp. Thank you for that question. The next question is from Romy Jean. Romy, your question is, when we enter the bardos, are we aware of our life we just left? Oh, we are most aware of the life that we have just left. When we enter the bardos, we are faced with a motion picture screen of every decision, every action we have done, every deed that was good, every deed that was out of integrity. And we look at it because we do not have the ego there to protect us. The ego that says, look away, do not look, ignore this. We do not wish to see this. When we do not have the ego, we do not have this capability to look away from truth. The truth exists. It is there. And we view it without judgment, without fear, but with love and compassion for ourselves. The bardos are very much a confrontation. And everything that we say and we do for another person or against another person or a living being, if we go through a lifetime where we eat meat, one has to kill life to eat meat, slaughter animals, sentient beings, murdered. Most of us have not been vegetarian all our lives, and we have committed murder, every one of us. And the ego can speak, I have never killed an animal. But every time that person goes into the supermarket and purchases a package of meat or fish, the moment you exchange currency for that flesh, you have committed murder in the eyes of the cosmos. You have contributed to killing. And it is no different than if you were to kill and eat your mother, or kill and eat your beloved pet. It is murder. And this is how it is seen in the bardo. And every ounce of meat that has been eaten is examined as a murder by our soul in the bardo. As we traverse through the passage of the bardo, before we are freed into omnipresence, the transcendental state. But we are never in judgment. We see it for what it is. And we write into our next lifetime a stronger opportunity to enter vegetarian as our Asine self originated. Before Lemuria, before Atlantis. The civilizations of Lemuria and Atlantis never, ever harmed a sentient being to eat. They ate from the gardens of nature, from the Merkaba gardens, which were created by the gods, which we call the extraterrestrials. That's another teaching. The last question is from Nahajin. Naha, your question is, when back in the omnipresent state of the cosmos, do we look for higher knowledge? No, not necessarily, because we are in higher knowledge. We are always in higher knowledge. Always. Not only when we leave the flesh body at the point of the changing of state, from flesh to paranormal. We are always in higher knowledge. Every moment of the circle of yoga, the continuous cipher asana that we experience. Yoga is not limited to a physical pose with the body. We move through spiritual, superconscious asanas on a cellular level. There is great emphasis placed when we are in the flesh body, in the prison of the mind and the limitation of the ego, on Kundalini Yoga, on heart chakra yoga, on Sahasrara Chakra, on meditative processes. And we believe that these are developed while we are in the physical state, while we're in a lifetime. But it is far greater than this. We are aware and we are in yoga positions, if you will, asanas, in every state that we experience. We are cosmically aware of higher knowledge in every moment of our existence. Whether we are in prayer or holy meditation, or we are in an omnipresent state where we are not in the flesh body, but we are with our personality intact. We are who we are, but we are vast. We are vast. We are omnipresent. And all of the souls that we travel through the states of life, the cosmic yoga, are intertwined at this stage. It is not until we choose to empty an embryo and fill it with our life force that that is separated. And this is the beginning of thought in yoga. And that yoga brings us to the point of life and birth. And then we begin the process of the attempt to dissolve the yoga of ego. Even ego is a yoga. Everything that we practice on a constant is a yoga. Breathing is a yoga. Eating is a yoga. I find it interesting when I see people who say, I do not practice yoga, I do not believe in it. When the very action of their dressing their bodies and washing their faces and shaving their faces, those are asanas. They are practiced every day. Relieving oneself at the bathroom commode. That is a yoga. It is an asana. We do it every day. We nourish the body. We breathe. We move. Yoga is movement. Yoga is life. And life does not begin at birth and end at the process of death and transition. Life is a perfect cipher, a perfect sphere, and it is never ending, constantly improving itself. And is that not what we do when we are in yoga class? We are constantly reaching for the improvement of that asana, for the improvement of that pose. Each state of life is an asana. It is a pose. Thank you for this wonderful, wonderful satsang. Je vous aime, Montréal. Je vous aime. I love you, Montreal. Om Shanti. Om Shanti.